What's good, creators? Today we're going to work on using your raw files, and in particular using the super contrast feature in Luminar AI to pull out details, to pull out some depth in your colors. And then we're going to touch on some other features and other options within Luminar AI to give you this kind of painter look, this very soft image from your photos. Now here's the original photo. If you want to import your own photo, just click this plus button here at the top and you can either add a folder or a single image, and you would just import that. And the first thing I want to do is within the Essentials palette here, I want to go under composition. I'm going to choose free and set my composition to taste. Now, one of the benefits of using raw files is that even with overexposed or underexposed images, to an extent, you are still able to pull out details from the highlights and the shadows if that detail is still there. So one of the first things I would do is go under the light option here, grab the highlight slider and bring it all the way down just to see if there's any detail behind those highlights. And as you can see, as I bring this down, you can see the clouds and all those details that were lost in the overexposure. Now I can further bring out more details by bringing out some of those shadows and put a little bit of contrast as well. But at this point, I'm not going to put too much because we are going to look into the super contrast feature in just a second. The only thing I'll do here is bring the temperature up a little bit because I do want some yellow in the sky there as well as in the foliage. Next, I'm going to go to enhance and bring it to about halfway. Now, if you bring it all the way to the right, you see that it really gives more detail in the sky especially, and it gives a bit more of a bolder look. It brings out some of the shadows and the details. I'm just going to leave it about halfway. And the sky enhancer, it makes it much richer, which I'll again leave it about halfway for now. So the other thing I'm going to do is bring the structure up just a little bit, again, to pull out just a bit more detail. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that image right now. Now, before we use super contrast, we're going to do a bit of cleaning up here, and we're going to erase these objects that we don't want in the scene. And all you have to do is go back to Essentials, click on Erase, use the bracket keys to increase your brush radius. Now I'm just going to brush over this garbage can, click Erase, and magically that garbage can is gone. Now there's a couple poles here as well that we're going to get rid of. So we're going to click on Erase here, and those poles will disappear. There you go, no more poles. Now that we've done the cleaning up, let's go into the Pro palettes here, and under Super Contrast, this is where the magic happens. This is really cool. So first, let's start with the highlights. You will see once I increase the highlights, it darkens the highlights the more I bring it to the right. So it really starts now to bring out more detail, gives it a bit of a bolder look, but I don't want to overdo it. So I'll bring it to about 35 here. And then you could play with the balance sliders here. So if I bring it to the left, see how bright it gets? And as I bring it to the right, it dulls down those highlights. So again, I want to keep it somewhat bright, but not too overbearing. Now the midtones work the same way. You're going to see how See how the colors are really dull, but now it's going to be a bit more bolder. I'm going to leave it at about halfway and slide the balance just ever so slightly to the right. We do a quick before and after. You see how flat the original image is, and now there's a lot of pop in a lot of the greens and the yellows. Now I chose this picture on purpose because of the various colors in the image. So lastly, we're going to do the same for the shadow contrast. And again, when you slide it to the right, the darker, the bolder the image is. And then when you slide it to the left, it removes a bit of the shadows. So again, we want to slide it to the right just a little bit. And there you go. I'm pretty happy with this so far. Now to further add color, what we're going to do is spend time in the color balance section here and play with the shadow, midtones, and the highlight colors. And for the shadows, I'm going to leave the shadows mostly bluish. I'm really happy with this look. Now obviously I could play with the brilliance, you know, it's kind of like saturation, just to give it a bit more pop. And of course the warmth, give it just a bit of warmth there. And then the overall color contrast, again, just making these colors pop out a bit more. And the last thing I want to do with this is give it kind of like a painter's look. I've been on this painter vibe lately, and one look that works very well for that is this mystical feature within the creative palette. And as I slide this to the right, you see it kind of gives it that smudged, dreamy look, you know, and that's a bit excessive. I just want a touch of it. So as you can see with a raw photo, there's still so much detail where you can recover a photo. You can, in a sense, save a photo that you might have thought was too over or underexposed. So try this technique out. The super contrast feature works very well for pulling out details in color. Try it with your own images. So if you like more of this content, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe. We're going to go more in depth with Luminar AI. So until the next video, we will talk to you soon.